Good afternoon, everybody. Tammy from Homesteading in the City with Tammy. Today's video is going to be a sewing video. I'm going to show you how to make yarn cozies. If that is something that interests you, stick around. So before we get into the tutorial for sewing our yarn cozy, I wanted to take a moment to welcome everybody to my YouTube channel. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who've been here from the beginning, I really appreciate you coming by each week and watch the new videos that I put out. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. It does benefit me by you subscribing to my YouTube channel. Okay, so let's get started with our sewing tutorial. Okay, so to start out, a yarn cozy is a tube that holds a cake of yarn, and this is a cake of yarn. When you get yarn, it comes in a hank, they call it, and then you roll it into cakes of yarn to be able to use it. And once you do that, there's not a slip around the outside of it like the yarn that you get in the store, so it tends to pull out on the outside. So then you have these yarn cozies that you can put your hand in like this on the end, put the cake through, and hold your yarn, and it'll just come out of the center like that, and all of the extra yarn on the outside will stay there, and you can pull from the center of your ball or cake of yarn, and it won't unwind on the outside, and it keeps it relatively right tight together. It doesn't hold it so tight that it squeezes it. It just holds it so that it doesn't allow it to unravel from the outside and then have a big mess because you've got an end on each side unraveling. So this just is an easy way to hold your yarn so that you can keep it under control while you're working on it. So that is what a yarn cozy is. Now, to make the yarn cozy, you'll need not rayon. You will need spandex and cotton material, like an athletic yarn that they have out there, a swim material, some athletic material that is stretchy both ways. It doesn't have to be super stretchy the second way, but it does need to be able to stretch. So the first way, this is a really good stretch. So this is the way we want to use it so that it'll stretch around our cake of yarn. So, and it does stretch this way, not as much, but still stretches so that we can have a good stretch. So now the pattern calls for you to have a 9.5-inch square. So you cut out a 9.5-inch square, you take the side that has got the most stretch, and you are going to fold those two ends together long ways. And this is where, because they roll, this is where you're definitely going to want to use pins to to hold these together so that you can get them right tight. Oops, sorry, I might not be in there. Right tight to the top. Now, if you have a serger, this would work really good on a serger. If you don't have a serger, and I have a serger, but I'm going to show you guys how to do this on a regular machine and what you can use on that. But if you have a serger, I would definitely suggest using the serger. It would just make it a little bit easier to do, and the more thread you have, the less that it's going to possibly, stitches will possibly pull out. So it takes a little bit of time to get that curled end to be flat so that you can stitch it nice and square. And on your sewing machine, you will definitely want to make sure that you have a zigzag pattern when you are putting it on your sewing machine. Okay. Because the zigzag pattern will allow the yarn to, allow the thread to go different ways. And a straight line, when you pull on a straight line, it'll pop the stitches. So when you're pulling against this, it's going to pop the stitches. So if you do a zigzag, it has a lot less chance for it to pop the stitches. And you'll want to kind of do a relatively long zigzag. Okay, so now that we have our needle threaded, let's go ahead and start stitching. And like I had said before in my other video, if your needles are like this, you can usually run them right over. If you are not comfortable with running them over, you can always stop and pull them out. If they start turning where they're going to catch, then go ahead and pull them out, because that'll just cause an issue. But okay. Okay, so now that we have that stitched, cut our ends here. And we can see that when it's stitched, it pulled it a little bit, so it's not going to pull the stitches out. So now, move this out of the way so I have room to show you. So now you're going to turn your, okay, so now that you have your tube sewed together, you're going to fold it in half, and you can just put your hand in and find the middle and then just bring it in so that they come inside of one another. We're going to end up turning this, so we just need to get it sewn together here. The easiest way to do that is to take both seams on this one, put one way, and the other seams going the other way. Put your pin there, and then go around and just pin this together as best you can, leaving an opening somewhere because we've got to turn it. Now, it doesn't need to be a big opening because this is not a lot to turn, but I would suggest leaving the opening close to the end, but not right here. This way you don't have to hand stitch through this thickness. You're doing that when you when you start your stitching. So if you start there, you can stitch all the way around. So again, use your pins to keep it up to the top so that it's straight. Okay, so let me pull my machine back here. And if you have a arm on your machine, it will go over the arm, and it'll keep it stretched enough that you'll be able to position it around on the arm of your machine. That'll stretch it enough for you that you'll have that your stitches will already be stretched. If you don't have, by stretching your material over this arm, it's already having the material stretched to its max. When you stitch on it, it allows that your thread is already stretched to the max, so it will stretch back, and you won't have to worry about your thread breaking because it's already stitched out when it's stretched. So it'll just make it a lot easier. Still want to go with the zigzag stitch that you have, and it'll just take a little bit of adjusting on your material as you stitch around to get it to move. Best is to put your finger right here where I have mine and your hand over here to allow it to feed the material through. Oh, gotta put my presser foot down. Okay. And I would suggest back stitching right here just because you have to turn. You don't need to have that rip out as you're trying to turn it. And it's just a matter of going slow enough and adjusting your material up and allowing it to be stitched. And moving it with your fingers here at the base and your hand on top to guide your material. Just do a little back stitch there. We gave ourselves just a tiny little window to turn that from. It's not a lot of material and you really don't need a lot to be able to turn it. Okay, let's cut our strings here. Okay, so let's push that out of the way. And see, it's just a little bit. Get our finger in there and get a little bit of material and just start pulling it through. It'll stretch and it'll come through a little at a time. Takes a little bit, but the less material the smaller the hole, the less you have to sew up by hand when you're done. Just as you turn anything, it wants to fight you because you don't have a huge hole, but it does come through. There you go. Okay, so once you get it through, you can get that seam into the middle. Your middle seam into the middle of your fold there, and then you're just going to take the top layer of those first two layers right there and just put a real quick pin right there, because we're just going to take a straight stitch with our machine and we're going to stitch that. So we don't want it to stitch all the way through, we just want it on these top two layers. Okay, and then you'll want to put your machine to a single straight stitch and then get it in there and then just do a small stitch along the edge of this so that it just stitches up your hole. Okay, we'll cut our yarn again. Okay, push that out of the way. Okay, so now that is our yarn cozy, and then we can just flip it completely in half. Our seam is in the middle, and there you have a yarn cozy that you can put your cake of yarn in. So let me show you what it looks like while I put a cake of yarn in there. Okay, so now I have my cake of yarn, and again, you put your hand through when you want to put your yarn in there. Put the yarn in your hand and then just pull it around the cake. Now, this is a smaller cake of yarn, but as you can see, this will hold a good size cake of yarn, but it'll also hold a half of a hank. And that's what those are actually. These are half hanks because this is a whole hank here, and I divide it into two because I do two projects with it at the same time. So I do my smaller hanks, but this allows you to have your yarn together and it comes out of the top and you don't have to worry about it unraveling from the sides. So that is how you make a yarn cozy. Very simple. I will put the directions down below, but it's just a 9.5-inch square piece of material that is like activewear material, which works the best. T-shirt material, activewear material. It's got a nice good stretch both ways, so it allows it to stretch over top of your yarn, and it's just a quick, easy, a few minute thing to put together, and then you have some yarn cozies to cover your yarn with. So I hope you enjoyed that. Well, everybody, that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial on how to make a yarn cozy. They are a cute little idea on how to hold your yarn so that they don't unravel. It's a quick, easy little project to do, and a beginner sewer could easily do this project. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. It does benefit me by you subscribing to my YouTube channel. Also, click the notifications and the thumbs up button. And if you have any questions, comment down below. I'm willing to answer any questions that you have. And as always, I will catch you on the next one. Have a good day. Bye.